Hi there, it's me, Sandy Shellis from Environmental Coffee House, and we're going to take a walk today on the property a little bit, and let me show you. We'll go that way. I want to have a conversation, as long as my audio is good and everything's good, about my Amish neighbors. And I had an hour-long conversation with my Amish neighbor, Jonathan. And my profile is sideways. Oh, something's wrong with my phone. How is this the way? Is that better? How about this? Unfortunately, something's wrong with my phone, and I'm always sideways. I don't know what's wrong with the phone. And I liked it, but I like to do it differently. See, this is usually the way I do it, but to you I'm sideways. That's not a good thing. But anyway, we have a lot of water. Oh, I don't like doing it this way, this screen, but this is what's going on. But it's not flooding. But anyway, I thought it would be really interesting to do this quick discussion about my Amish neighbors. All right, so I went over there. I'm commissioning Jonathan to make a shed for me so I can put my garbage in it, quite frankly. I am sick and tired of having the garbage accumulate in the basement before I go to the dump, or my husband goes to the dump, or whoever goes to the dump. Immaterial, right? So he's going to do that. It's pretty, pretty cheap, $350, and it has a locking door with keys and plexiglass window and metal roof. So it's very nice. So we're talking, and I asked Jonathan what he knew about climate change, and he really didn't know a lot about climate change, and it was a bit disconcerting, but I guess I could understand it because they don't watch mass media, which, I think that's probably a lot better for them and their mental health. So wait, Patrick's, the creek, that creek on my property, yes, the one that flooded above. Anyway, as I was talking to Jonathan, it was clear that he didn't know a lot about climate change. And then we talked about some other things. We talked about the trees and how they cut them down. And I asked about replanting efforts. And he didn't know a lot. On the property that he has next to me, he does not cut the trees down. He gets it from somewhere else, the wood that he's building my thing with. So I asked him, well, what do you think about the temperature variations? 48 hours ago, it was, oh boy, I gotta be careful, because if I fall, my back's been bad. I don't want to hurt myself. But 48 hours earlier, we had snow. And today it's 72 degrees. And last night we had pouring rain. So my question to him was, well, I had a lot of questions, but he was like really willful, really great in talking to me about them. He told me that he doesn't know if they have big reforestation programs, and I said to him, well, I wanted to explain to him. I taught him what a carbon sink is, and I taught him about the need to replant what they take and to give it back to the mother, which is Earth, and have the respect for the Earth. And he was so receptive, and he said he started to explain to me a method of cutting that they do, that they don't clear cut, that they put they do, I don't know, they leave it in such a way that the trees will regenerate naturally. Of course, that takes a lot of time. And I also said to him there might be problems with trees regenerating naturally these days. And I explained to him what global warming was and what climate change was and what CO2 does from the burning of fossil fuels. And he was fascinated. But also, he did know about fossil fuels. And he did know about some of the burning. But when I went to pipelines, and I also talked about pipelines because a lot of Amish own a lot of property. And from what I had heard, which is what I told him, I said, you know, I heard that if you were offered, or you know, one of in your community, if you are offered money from the fossil fuel industry to put a pipeline in, that there's no problem and it's done. Well, that's not what he said. And he told me that personally, he felt that it would not be something that he would ever choose to do. And when we talked further, I told him about the potential for leaks and pollution in the groundwaters, such as my creek. Now, Jonathan is a young guy. Jonathan is probably still in his 20s and expecting their 6th child. Now, of course, that's a different culture, and they have children. Their children work the farms, they work the land. You know, these people really, I like them. I had the most beautiful conversation with Jonathan. I met his wife, Ella, the other day. Very quiet, very lovely. But I said, Jonathan, you know, I could teach a lot without frightening anybody and keeping in mind your religious beliefs, because I would never want to tread on anybody's religious beliefs. But you have children, right? And he's, yes, I have children. I said, well, of course you've noticed the weather variations. Yes, they have. And I said, well, wouldn't you like to know or understand how to deal with the weather variations from our climate changing that's going to happen to your children in the future? They are going to have to acclimate to different practices. And he was all ears, you know. Not that I know that this could ever really happen, but I get the drift that they really don't know as a culture that much about what is going on behind, you know, right here in their community. And I also told him what I do, you know, what I try to do as the environmental watchdog group. And I told him, we do this for your children. We do this so that we're protecting your groundwater and we're protecting your children. But you guys have to learn about climate change. And then we went on to voting. And I said, well, do you vote? And he said, no. I said, do you pay taxes on the land? Yes. I said, okay. How about this? You might have your land and you might pay taxes on it, but you have no representation of your community. You have no representation of your people. Things can happen and people get put in office that don't have your best interests in mind. And I said, you know, your community could make a hell of a voting block, and I didn't say hell. I said heck of a voting block, and be represented in our country as you are citizens. It was a fascinating conversation, and at no point did I overstep my bounds. It was riveting to him because he was very interested in a lot of this. And of course I opened my doors to them and I invited them to come over anytime, because honestly, here's another funny part. In the conversation, we have a common villain. This is a dude and his family that own about 40 to 50 acres. I'll show you where. way back there, okay? Way back there. And this guy comes from Rochester with his family, and they camp and they hunt, but obnoxious, and they play loud music, and they shoot, they shoot on Sundays at like 6, 7, 8 in the morning. And Jonathan has children sleeping, and it is a problem because their kids get awakened. And additionally, Earl is rude. And I've been trying to buy some property. I don't even know if I have the money, but I want to buy a piece of property that is also adjacent to my property that this guy Earl owns, and I would like to he was going to sell it, I heard, and it's just a work in progress. Anyway, Jonathan and I were talking about the property behind him, and he wants to buy it, and I want to buy some. And I don't have a lot of money, but I would be willing to do something to get this, because land is gold. So we discussed that if there's a way, maybe we could make this guy from Rochester miserable. We could get him to want to sell. And then we'll go in together and buy the property together. And we'll split the acreage, or we'll do whatever. It could be a cooperative with my husband and myself and Jonathan and Ella and their family. And I thought, wow, what a conversation. I really wanted to tell you all about it, because the people, I told him, I said, Jonathan, if anything ever did happen because of our problems with weather and all, I said, your community will outlive all of us, because you know how to live off the land, and you already have horses, you already have the land to create the feed, you know how to build, you know how to use the resources. But the major thing is learning how to put the resources back. And that's what I'm about. So I thought it was a productive conversation to come on and tell you guys about, because I have not had the opportunity to understand a lot about my neighbors in the Amish community. Cindy Kay says, when someone doesn't understand or care about climate change, they often do care about pollution, especially if their water and land is at risk. Cindy? Yes, I agree with you on that, and I think in Jonathan's behalf, he understands about polluting the water, the creek water, especially when we talked about pipelines leaking, and that is money that important to sell out to these corporations. He got the corporation thing, completely got that. He knew that. So, may not watch TV, but they know about the corporations, and they know about some of this stuff. And his comment to me was that he would never let a pipeline come through his property. So if he feels that way, I just wonder about the rest of his community, that's all. And I would never want to, like I said, I would never want to encroach on someone's religion. I don't think that they have the apocalypse doomsday thing going. I don't know. I'm going to study it a little more. But I'm going to establish a relationship with their family, and I think it would be really nice. And what would be really great is if I could talk to them about what's going on in the atmosphere and what CO2 does. And I had explained to him about carbon sinks, and he listened. He really, really voraciously listened. It might be a little breakthrough, because people do have to understand, regardless of their culture. I think it's, they're having children. What are they leaving their children if they don't understand what's going on in a very non-threatening way, which is how I had presented it, as science, and that, about acclimation. Then that's basically it. Kenny says, is he unaware of the definition of eminent domain? He won't be able to stop big oil if that day should come. We didn't get to eminent domain yet, but I know we're going to have more conversations. I'm sure we're going to have more conversations, because, well, first of all, he's building my garbage shed, and maybe, because My husband wants to have a big party in August, and you're all invited. The whole world's invited. So he might build us an outhouse, because I've been bugging my husband to get an outhouse, put an outhouse up so that when people come camping, they've got an outhouse, you know? So, okay, Justin says, I'm excited to hear about what you might learn from them as well. Absolutely. And I'm going to foster this relationship. He was lovely, and his wife was lovely, but he was bright, and he was willing to learn. And another thing is, I can't wait till they bring my shed, because they're bringing it on the trailer with the big horses. I love it. I just love it. I love them. And you know what really hurts me is there's a lot of people around here that don't. And I have to tell you something. When I first moved here, I met someone, and this person didn't understand, you know, who I am. And they actually referred to the Amish in our area as white or Amish N-word. We were out to dinner. We were just getting to know them. I gave her a look that was, I was disgusted, actually, and she shut up and has never done that again. However, that makes me understand that in our community, unfortunately, there's also racism against the Amish. And I think it's sad. No, I have respect for them. They work very hard. And I know a lot of people have told me they have puppy mills. That's not actually around here. And when I went to the vet, the one time before the last, there was an Amish family in there with puppies. But the vet was seeing the puppies, and they were in great shape. And I asked the guy, are you a puppy mill? And he laughed, and he said no. You know, I said, do you sell a lot of puppies? Are you? But obviously he was taking care of them. So that's not here. But that's not to say that it's not somewhere else. And that would be, you know, other investigation. James McKenna, hi James, he says, really interesting to hear about the Amish perspective. You're truly blessed to have them in your locale. Guess there is a lot they could teach us. They are very resilient, serene people, and they are pacifists. And I'm a pacifist. And I don't know if they even understand what is going on in the country around them. And it could swallow their culture up. And it's very disconcerting. But I was so pleasant and so nice, I would never scare him. I would never scare him. I was teaching him. And he was very interested to learn about carbon sinks. So there you go for the day. I thought it was great. I wanted to come on and tell you. And I have to fix my damn phone because I really want, not vertical but horizontal, and something's wrong with it. Do you think it's an Apple, what is it, iPhone 6S, and I like that it has a plug-in mic, but guess what? The new ones, which I really don't want to buy, don't have a plug-in mic. Everything is wireless. And is it planned obsolescence that now my phone doesn't want to go in horizontal, but just vertical, and that's not great for videos? I don't like it. Well, anyway, I'd like to know, what do you guys think? So, there we go. And it did not flood, which I was worried about. I really was worried about, because, and I gotta be so goddamn careful. But I got my back brace on and everything else, so. But it didn't flood. And I had said in a post the other day that I should have taken Paul Beckwith, the scientist from Ottawa, that I share all the time. I should have taken his opinion and got some sandbags. Because, you know, if it does happen, thank God it hasn't gone over the sides. Because when it did flood, my husband was going to kind of blow them up, the ice jams, but not with anything that was horrible, you know, just something you put down and you shoot it and it makes a bang and it would break up some of the ice. So this is where the party's going to be. And we're going to have camping. And everybody's invited. So that's an aside. We're going to hopefully plant more trees and clean up more tornado damage. So thank you for coming. Everybody have a great day and share. Taviro, that's lateral oppression. in the white nation with that one neighbor. I don't know. It's something I haven't researched yet, but I don't like it. I don't like discrimination of any kind. I don't like name calling, and it hurt me. It just hurt me when she did that, and I think she knows who I am now. So everybody, you peace and have a great day, and thanks for listening. Maybe more on the Amish. And when the shed comes, maybe I could live stream, but I can't get their faces. It's out of respect, but maybe I can show the horses and the buggies, and it's just beautiful. I love them. They were so lovely. Okay. Bye-bye.